We're back once again, only on it's Last Call. Last Call of the Alcohol, only on the Last Call YouTube channel. And joining me here once again, well, we took a break. He was like, Chris, I can't do this. I had to watch AEW. I had to watch friggin' Superman. I swear, I'm gonna choke a bitch if I talk to him. So I gave him a 1 week pass because he may or may not have been investigated for threatening to turn James Gunn into a human accordion. His words, not mine. I give you once again, Bo, the man who is the moral high ground of pro wrestling and the largest natural arms in the world, Kevin Apollo, ladies and gentlemen. So, Kevin, let's start off here with I gotta do this to you. Yes.
Oh, I feel so lame.
Family friendly wrestling, Kevin. That's right.
I know this.
AEW's WrestleDream. It was the final match of a 5 friggin' hour pay-per-view plus submission match. No. We're too hardcore for like arm bars, chokes, using a chair, maybe using this ring steps. No, we gotta fill a fish tank with water. It takes time, and
Mhm.
then start doing Abu Ghraib style torture. Dunk his head into it. What the hell, Kevin? I'm trying to. You're the one who usually is more pissed. I'm now getting pissed. Like, what the hell is this company doing? Why can't it just die?
Bro, it's mud show nonsense. And I say it because I know an indie fed that actually waterboarded someone in the middle of a match and was shocked that the person almost died because they were waterboarding them. And you know, the person reacted with extremely poorly to being waterboarded as his brain was trying to convince him that he was drowning. So now we turn around and you've got a company owned by two billionaires, with the national cable deal, several pay per view streaming outlets, and we're going to do some indie show, mud show nonsense. And for what? For what? Right? Because it didn't really look like there were that many people in the arena. Um, it just makes them look like clowns. I mean, Darby dresses like I don't know. He dresses like what? Someone's lesbian punk rock aunt. So I just he goes on Ari Emanuel and dumps water all over himself like a buffoon. How are you supposed to take this seriously? And then after all the grandstanding about how they are a family company, which anybody with half a brain was like, "What are you talking about?" Because you guys are the furthest thing from it, a family oriented company. But this is how we're going to try to tell everybody that we're a family oriented company. It just I don't know. It's so stupid. It's almost unfun to talk about.
It's kind of angering, and you have now the AW people. They're on full force. Amanda Huber, who, if you know, that is the late Brody Lee's widow.
Mhm.
And I get it. I'm not gonna say anything bad about her. She's been hired by Tony Khan as part of a Huber Foundation that he's funding and setting up. He's hired her oldest son to be a wrestler when he turns 21. He has given them money, and I understand. Look, she's like any loyal person. She's going to defend Tony Khan AW because she feels indebted to them. I understand that. But when she's attacking Sarah Stock, who said parents should not let their kids watch this, I just look at her and go, do you understand what normal people think when they see this? Like normal non wrestling people look at this and will go, what is this crap? Why is it on TV? Why? And you will have people call WBD go, you need to cancel this. I don't want this on my TV.
Well, that's the listen. I get it. I'll say two things, right? Yes, when you collect a paycheck from a company, you defend them, right? Because that's your job. On the other hand, when someone who is who has a legitimate opinion voices their opinion, you don't get to attack them either, though. That's free feedback, and you should be taking that feedback whether you agree with it or not, and processing it, breaking it down, and figuring out what you need to pull from it. Because the main difference, yes, the WWE does really dumb stuff, right? But the big difference between these two is that the WWE sensationalizes it to the point that it's cartoonish. So it's easier to kind of absorb, especially since the King of the Ring incident, right, with Foley. Ever since then, any major stunt has been cartoonish. Even the dumb stunt with Rollins knocking out Ray's eyeball. It was so over the top and silly that it came off hokey. This is versus filling a fish tank with water, taking the time to fill it, and then trying to drown someone. That's pretty visceral. That's something that's very easy to reenact. Good luck having a couple of kids find an electric, a magnetic crane, take an automobile, hoist it 200 feet in the air, and then drop it. That's not that feasible. But you want to dumpster dive into a Petco, you'll probably find a fish tank. You want to fill it with some water, sure, if you got some patience, and you want to dunk your friend's face in it because you want to emulate the dumb thing you saw on TV. That's also very possible. We live in a world where, the I laugh because the '80s was the era of the very special episode, right? But what happened? They had to go out of their way to tell kids don't hide in refrigerators. Human Torch wasn't a part of a Spider-Man cartoon because someone was afraid the kid was going to set themselves on fire. When you are an entertainment provider, when you claim to appeal to a mass audience, these are things you have to take into consideration. You have a responsibility to be smart about what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. There's 1,000 different ways that you could have probably done this, done this spot, and had it have been palpable. But with AEW, it's always the same problem. Someone has an idea. No one has the ability to say, "Hey, listen, there may be something here. Let's shop it and figure out how best to tell it." It's the equivalent of verbal diarrhea. The first thing that pops into their head is the first thing they throw in front of a live camera, and it doesn't work. And we're talking now, what? How many incidents have we had? We were coming off of the stupid hypodermic needle thing, the stupid cinder block thing. What else? What was the other?
The nails in the bat that almost
Oh yeah, that's right.
literally
Yeah.
got into
Yep.
John Moxley's spine. Oh,
Yep.
don't. Oh, by the way, before 2 episodes in Dynamite ago, Darby Allin showed up with a Molotov cocktail. Thankfully, he didn't light it and throw it, but still, you just look and go, "What's this company
Really
needs to
good.
go away."
Well, again, it's just like so. I was going like, so, okay, great. So Darby showed with a flamethrower and a Molotov cocktail. So you're telling me that he's willing to murder people on live TV? Like what? Okay, okay. So what does AEW do when they've pushed the envelope so far that they have no choice but to have to murder someone on live TV? There's a reason why when you storytell, you have to choose certain tones and you have to be prepared to deliver on something you threaten, right? What people want to scream about Abyss and Janice, but every time an Abyss hit somebody with Janice, it was the top of Janice, and the one time someone got hit with it, they were out for months and there was a pool of blood. The so you have to be prepared to deliver, and this company is never going to deliver, or they're going to deliver on the wrong thing. And again, I just don't know I don't know what this added to the story, other than getting negative attention, because that just seems to be what the name of the game is, right? We can't earn actual viewers. We can't earn a spot in the public zeitgeist. We're no one's social cue. So now, because we're so desperate, we're gonna do anything in our power to get to fill the internet with some rage bait. But all it does is tell a curious network, a mom who happened to be in the room at the wrong time, that this is a garbage show.
here's what, and when before I got one of the year, I was thinking about this. Darby could have been seriously hurt. People don't get that. You're putting a
Mhm.
man's head into water. What happens if he has a negative reaction? What happens if his lungs shut down? I mean, this is you are trying to drown somebody. I get it. They probably, we hope, keyword hope, went over this here. But knowing these two idiots and how they've worked, like, what happens if Darby really seriously got hurt on live TV because these two knuckleheads thought, "Oh, this is a great idea," and then realized, "Oh crap, we screwed the pooch."
Well, listen. It doesn't take much water to drown, and it can happen faster than people think. So, that's why generally these kinds of things are looked up to professional stuntmen. Slash, you don't do things like this in a wrestling ring. Because again, because the children, if the show is allegedly for kids, well, what happens? Children children mimic what they see. I'm not. This isn't. I'm not justifying some parent not doing their job, but the fact of the matter is that kids mimic what they see, right? So little Timmy, all you need is two 12-year-olds who are hanging out by themselves, effing around in the woods somewhere, and they do some dumb shit like this. That's not mom and dad's fault. Like, yeah, sometimes common sense is not that common, especially when you're dealing with children because they're still learning. Yes, I'm a firm believer in parents who have to be accountable for what their kids do, but at the same time, again, as an entertainer, I'm also aware of my impact on making a parent's job easier or harder.
When are they going to hit rock bottom? I just worry this because, as you said, we've seen them use cinder blocks, nail baseball bats. They've used now fish tanks, flamethrowers. They've used utensils in their orifices and their ears. What do you do
Uh,
next? I mean, when are they going to just use it? All right, hey, let's use a harpoon gun. That'd
well,
be cool.
as I know you're doing it to be facetious, but the reality is they're running out of stupid stunts, right? And they're trying to be death matchy without being death matchy, right? Because they know that bullshit isn't going to fly on TV. But all they're doing is exposing themselves as being second rate. We talked about the deathmatch nonsense a few weeks ago. There is there is no mainstream audience for that bullshit here in the States. It barely exists in Japan. When they push it in Japan, the look at the state of wrestling in Japan right now. It's back to where it was when Japan was putting on shows like AEW, the stupid, ridiculous, unbelievable spots, the 400 kickouts after major moves in a match, the 45 to 55 minute Broadways and all that other nonsense, and then or someone was bleeding everywhere. The wrestling business was in the shitter; it didn't work. So here comes the money mark supreme, and he does it all over again. And guess what? Same result. It doesn't work. I don't care what your, what's your just for men abusing a benefactor, Mr. Meltzer tries to say. The shit isn't working. It's almost as AEW's on two extremes, right? We're watching this mud show nonsense that no one believes, and on the other end of the spectrum is belt mark Monet. I can't draw a straight line. Mercedes, giving herself all these belts under the sun, and no one gives a shit. No one knows where these belts come from. None of these belts mean anything. She can't cut a promo to save her life. Her matches are less than mid at this point.
Kevin, you're getting ahead of ourselves.
Oh,
That's
sorry.
topic number 3. We're going.
Sorry.
Let's go to topic
Sorry.
number 2. This will be because this is just sad. Yep. Sting was the one who saved Darby Allin, not Orange Cassidy, not the Ops, who they turned heel. I don't know why, but hey, they got to turn them heel.
Oh my God! Wait! They turned the Ops heel. Why?
Because Hangman needs a heel. So, but that's a whole different story. I mean, so yes, but one guy who is saving Darby is his grandpapa.
Listen, I'm digging the old man Sting look. I do have to admit, but at some point, like you had Sting retire for a reason. It's starting to start giving you diminishing returns. The Right now their focus needs to be on establishing another babyface who can run with Darby. The it's like there's a reason that since he's retired, Undertaker's only done one major spot on a major main roster show, right? He helped close out the Bloodline storyline, but Undertaker has had little to nothing to do on the show outside of it's an old home week. There's a bunch of legends here. Let's talk to the dead man. The the it's and I don't mean to be mean, but Sting and Taker are also in radically different kinds of shape right now. Sting just looks like Sting looks like a dude.
You can
Looks like
say
a dude.
he looks like a cracked out Santa with face paint. And I love Sting, but it's like, God damn it. You just no. Like Claudio Castagnoli should not be afraid of Sting. He should look and go, oh great, I get it's elderly abuse, but I can't get arrested for it. Whereas
Yeah,
Taker at least still looks like you try me and I still can beat the crap out of you because I'm nearly 6'10", 300 pounds, and I
mhm.
do know how to handle myself.
Well, yeah. Listen, when you are legitimately a badass dude, right? It doesn't matter how old you get. There's still an element of fuck around, find out. That's inherent, with people like that. Unfortunately, Sting just isn't that guy. And I laugh because it's also a problem that you have in the indies, right? When you're asking, when you're asking a ripped 20 something to be afraid of Tony Atlas. And I love Tony to death, but why are these 20 somethings hitting their asses kicked by these 70-year-olds? So but I stop and go, that's why you don't see this kind of stuff on WWE TV, right? It's unless you're a freak of nature, right? Like Steamboat, like the Steamboat's mini comeback. Steamboat was still in great shape for his age. He looked good, and he moved. He moved just as well as he did when he was in his mid-30s, right? But that was a limited run. But even if he didn't have the issue with the aneurysm, that we would have only probably gotten another 2 or 3 appearances out of him tops, right? Because it's you ride the nostalgia wave for as long as you can ride the nostalgia wave, and then you got to put it away. This is part of it is they have overdone the surprise factor, but they don't have access to anybody who's going to generate news for them either, though. Like, what are you going to do? Bring in some Japanese dude that only 8 people watching the show have heard of and act like it's a big deal, and then 2 weeks later, it's just another dude in the Don Callis family. The or
Like he
you
could
know
have used the Acclaim. They could have come down. You
Oh,
could have used.
absolutely. They have a ton of in roster people that you should be putting in the we're going to save him spot. But at the same time, Tony's kind of stuck, right? You needed a big name to make this save because of the nature of the story. He doesn't have that. It should have been. It should the best really the best way to go about this is it should have been Powerhouse Hobbs. That's the only other person on the roster who actually has some kind of built-in star power about him, who's active. It should have been Hobbs, but we
Or
had to
better
go
yet,
through the
the Hurt
offseason.
Syndicate. They could have finally, but no, we can't have Hurt
Well,
Syndicate.
that's true too. I'm sorry, I forgot. Was the Hurt Syndicate even on the pay-per-view?
Oh yes, they were taking on the Gates of Agony Ricochet. So
Oh,
basically,
that's right.
all the
That's right. I
blacks
forgot
were in
about
one
that.
match. Oops,
That's
sorry,
right. Yeah.
can't
Well,
say that. AEW is not
well,
racist.
that's the Tony usual. That's the Tony usual. Whatever. Hey, where's Scorpio Sky? Whatever happened to that guy?
Kev can't talk, can't say that word. It's been banned. But yes, the one person who stepped to Sting was not Wheeler Utah, not Daniel Garcia, not Pac, not Claudio. It was Marina Shafir. What did Grandpa Sting
Oh,
do? Put her over his shoulder, carried her out. Kevin, how this should have been like Sting getting his ass whooped, and the entire locker room comes to save Darby and Sting, not 66-year-old, Steve Borden, who I love. He was a guy who everybody knew would do business the right way. He could have used power, and he didn't as much as other guys, but he shouldn't be the one saving Darby against a bunch of 20 something year olds who had just jumped him and beat his ass.
well, so that's the thing, right? So yes, wrestling does require some kind of suspension of disbelief, but you also can't insult people's intelligence, right? So, like I said, Sting is the mystique of Sting is such that you can do things like this, but at some point in time, you've got to decide as a booker, we got to use this guy to make somebody. And you could have had Sting, Sting comes and he bumps, he bumps Wheeler, he bumps Claudio, Mox hits him from behind. They start putting the boots to him. Sting keeps trying to fight up. Sting keeps trying to fight up, but he can't. The and then as Sting starts to take the beat down, someone else's music hits, and now it's 3-on-3, 4-on-4, whatever the hell it is you need it to be, and now you have elevated someone, and as long as that someone wasn't one of the frail Nambla roster hires, it would have worked. It would have worked, or you do the obvious, right? You pick the three guys who are actually over, and the three guys that your audience actually treats like stars in the form of the Hurt Syndicate, right? Or you make powerhouse hops. I don't really know who else in the roster right now is primed for anything that where they were doing this would have worked for them. Like, all right, you do it with the Acclaim, but the Acclaim is kind of played out. But unless you're going to start doing something where Bones is going to start to shine on his own, I don't know how much mileage you get out. But that said, they had options, and they went with the laziest case scenario, right? Because this is lazy. This is lazy booking. The Sting saves Darby, great, cool. Sting and Darby have a relationship. The or listen, right? How Sting's son's been training for a little bit, right? So at the end of the day, really, what would have made sense was Sting's catching the beat down, and then his sons run out in their face paint and save their dad, and the and the Neo Moxleys take a powder.
Wow. Speaking of lazy booking and making things. Well, this woman's made a lot of money, and she's made a lot of history with now 11 belts.
Oh, it's 12 now.
And Kevin, if you insult her 11 belts, you are a hater. You're
No,
a mark.
dude,
You're
no,
jealous.
oh,
Kevin, you don't understand. She is the greatest of all time. Mercedes Mone, the CEO. She's elevated the belts. She is now the belt collector. She's making history. She's not making any females, but hey, screw them. She's making everything.
she's not making ratings. She's not making other characters. She's not making any interesting content. But hey, she's got a wig for every belt that she has. The dude, again, shitty promos, mid matches. I sat on the Toonie Talk stream while they were suffering through this, and the match just sounded like it was a glorified squash. And they threw Shafir in there just so that it wasn't as obvious a finish as it was going to be. The And then she turned around and grabbed another indie belt last night to make it 12. Who gives a shit? You're not defending these belts. You're not defending these belts. You're not giving any love or light to these belts. It's just this is a do you know what a SPO is?
No, but you're going to educate me, so I'm listening.
So it's I'm pulling back the curtain. A SPO is what we refer to as a self put over. It is a wrestler who is just so obsessed with themselves that no matter what happens, no matter what business you're trying to conduct, no matter what the conversation is, it always comes back to them and how awesome they are, even if they're not. The This is you're watching an entitled SPO just be the ultimate SPO. At the end of the day, we know deep down she knows that she is not as good or as over as Charlotte was. She's jealous that Becky surpassed her. And she's probably even a little jealous that Bayley surpassed her. So now she is scheming and scamming her way into doing something that no one else is going to do. And it's not because it couldn't be done. It's that who gives a shit? Who cares about one person grabbing a bunch of indie titles? When Ultimo Dragon was running around with all these titles, these were from companies that meant something. We might not have known about them in the States, but they all meant something. I don't mean to shit on House of Glory, but at the end of the day, like outside of they got news because of Master P, who in the hell knows what House of Glory is? Who in the hell knows what Winnipeg Championship Wrestling is? And all the other dumb fucking mark belts that she has. You're watching you're watching a mark be a mark for themselves, and everything that she does is designed to find a way to make sure that she puts herself over because she can't get over. So she can't get over, so she will always make sure she puts herself over.
I can tell you're gonna get more pissed because now the plan is for her to feud Chris Statlander, who won
Mm-hmm.
the AEW Women's World Championship.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's be real. We know why that happened.
Yes, because Tony Storm was like, "No, I'm not jobbing to Mercedes. Tony, you cannot pay me, Mister Khan, enough. You can,
Yep. And
basically watch for shoe as I cram it up your rear end if you try to force that on me."
yep. I'll say Chris deserves better. Uh, Chris Statlander is, when she's healthy, she's a hell of a talent who has a lot of potential. She's stronger than most of the girls. She looks like a serious competitor. And if she was in a different environment, she probably would be a star by now. So instead of embracing homegrown talent, instead of embracing homegrown talent and building them up and doing something with them, same old bullshit. Same old bullshit. Tony puts more time and energy into fucking Willow's happy ass than he does into developing actual legitimate competitors that can sell you some tickets.
When does he finally say no to Mercedes? I mean, as you pointed out, it's not like she can go anyplace else. TNA can't afford her, and from what I've heard, really doesn't want to deal with her. WWE, they don't even want to deal with her because they couldn't stand her the last two times she walked out.
Mm-hmm.
So why doesn't he just put his foot down and just go, "No, you actually have to lose this time. Like, give up one of your belts. I know it's the precious, but you have to give up these friggin' titles. You can't hold all of them. You're destroying my division."
Because Tony is weak, doesn't have balls, and he isn't a leader. He isn't a leader and he isn't a boss, right? From everything we've seen, he is a happy to be here. Like there's two reasons why you call someone a money, right? And you've got two kinds of money marks. You got the guy who drops all this money to do wrestling so that he can hang out with the boys, right? Everything he does is he's going to book his favorite wrestlers in these big matches, and he just wants to be in the locker room. And sometimes he may hire someone to book it, but usually he's the booker himself, or he gives the booker all these grand ideas. And as long as he's spending money, he knows that at least for 2 hours of this particular person's life, they're going to have to pay attention to him. Tony is the money mark who spends a bunch of money so that he can hang out with the boys. I know we're supposed to dress. Oh, he's so passionate. Oh, he's such a historian. Yeah, whatever. That bullshit. Tony has had 6 years to create one star. He hasn't done it yet. He has come pretty close to almost doing it, but he hasn't done it yet. He's not going to do it. He's incapable of doing it. it just is what it is. We're 6 years into the shows in the 400,000s, sooner and lower than I thought they were going to be than I thought they were going to get there. I'd say I actually underestimated just how terrible the show could get as as quickly as it got, as terrible as it got. Yeah, I really thought that we would be seeing them in the high low fives, high fours by the time we got out of the next set of NBA playoffs. Not not this low going into Christmas. Oof, that's awful. That means no one's watching the show. It means no one's interested in the show. And and instead of sitting down and figuring out how to make compelling TV, we're doing this bullshit with her goofy ass, this weeb, this cosplay superstar with all her shiny toys, with her toy titles. The so it's like, what is Tony gonna say? No, Tony doesn't know how to say no because he doesn't want to say no. He just wants to be loved and accepted. It's why you keep hearing stories about wrestlers not knowing that they haven't been signed because he won't have a conversation with them, or people finding out that after they thought they were released, he was going to hold them to he was going to hold them to any missed dates. Like there's no actual conversation about anything. You say what you want about Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon made sure you damn sure understood where you stood with him. So I don't know. To me, I'd rather have a boss who's an ass, but is honest, open and honest about it, and is focused on how we make some money, versus some little wimpy weasel who just wants to clap and cheer and be a special boy. At the end of the day, just go book a fucking birthday party at an indie show and go hang out with some wrestlers for a couple hours, as opposed to just wasting everybody's time every Wednesday night during Wednesday Night Dynamite live on TNT or TBS.
Well, we're going to switch to a different company that actually has its act semi together, better than AEW. That's right. Seth Rollins is injured. Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed finally turned on him. We would not see it coming, but it happened. So let's make sense of all this. From what we know, Seth Rollins will be out for most of this year, next year. We've heard torn rotator cuff. We're not sure. We're gonna we can't trust WWE because they sort of fib on stuff. What do you do first with Braun and Braun? I mean, I know you said they want to do a slow burn with Breaker, but at this point, now that Rollins is out, now that the title's going to be sort of up in flux, is it time to strap the rocket on Breaker? I mean, he is the closest thing they've had since Brock Lesnar in terms of the look, the athleticism, the pure intensity. So is it time for Triple H to actually take a risk and go, you know what? We're going to put the title on Bron Breakker. Let him be Scott Steiner 2.0. He can, make fun of fat people, ugly people. He can just beat people up. We will let him be the terror that everybody believes he can be.
I still think it's too early for Braun. I just do. I know a lot of people disagree, but I don't. They're not in a situation where it's an oh shit crisis and you got to pull something out of your ass to get some headlines. They're not in that position. They have an embarrassment of riches right now, which is kind of why the show is suffering a little bit. It's because they have too many options. They have too many options, and again, it's not a knock on Triple H, but Triple H lacks Vince's flair for the dramatic, where Vince could handle situations like this because he would concoct some fucking ridiculous storyline that would have played itself out across like 8 different people's storylines and then have them all collide, across 2 pay-per-views. Triple H is more of a traditional, one thing at a time kind of booker. So the show kind of feels a little stagnant because it's moving at a bit of a snail's pace while they are working on building everybody. I think they're doing a great job with moving LA Knight into the main event position. But you got to do something. I think Braun being an antagonist and being a big old pain in the ass and being a terror is the way to go. But Braun winning the title is going to be a massive. It's going to do more harm than good to him. I would dare say that Bronson, Reed is in a better position to win the title than Braun, and even then, I still think it may be a smidgen early for Bronson to win the title. The you know, yeah.
So I guess, and maybe you can counter my argument, because I look at you when I say you're wrong, because you look, and they don't look indie, but LA Knight, Punk, Ju. So they're more built like slightly above average men. They're not these big monsters. They're not. When you see them, they would fit back in the 50s and 60s, because they have those kind of bodies. It's not their fault. They're in shape. They're just
no,
not.
LA Knight's a giant man.
I guess
Oh,
compared to Breakker, I look at like Breaker's the guy you look and go, he could have played any sport if he wanted to. He could have. He was a football player. He went to the
yeah.
NFL Combine. He is a guy like Lesnar, where you look and go,
A freak athlete, once in
yes. So to me, this makes sense. Give him the belt. Let him be the guy where it's like you
he's not.
fear he
I,
ends up winning a WrestleMania, beating Roman, and then you start the Breakker versus Obafemi, or Breakker versus Jacob Fatu in 2026. You literally, as I said, let him be him. Let him be this guy that people look and go, oh my God, he's just a monster. He has there is no filter. He has no problem even spearing Adam Pearce, because he looks and goes, I am better than all of you. You can't do crap. I'm gonna be what my uncle was, except there's no health issues holding me down. I am
yeah,
the heir apparent.
I guess. I mean, the fact that matters is he's just not over enough. He he is getting. He's in the process of getting over enough. He's not there yet. He's just not. The bread is still baking. The bread is still baking. And if you do this, you do what Vince used to do to people, and it always fucks them up. Randy Orton is a prime example of this. He threw that belt on Orton. Orton had a lot of momentum. He had a lot of momentum. It was obvious that this was someone who was going to have the rocket strapped to them, and they did it too soon. And the title reign was a dud, because there's more to being the champion than just walking around the title. So unless the plan is to do some kind of what I think would be stupid is some kind of a transition thing, you're doing a disservice to Braun. You're just doing a disservice to him. They have plenty of time, but they've got a ton of runway to build him up more. This isn't like he wrestled Rollins and beat him decisively after a 4 month feud. After a 4 month feud, and then he goes on and collects another scalp. Where it's where when you sit down and watch it, it goes from, well, he could win, to how does this guy, how does the person he's wrestling survive? And it takes a little bit of time to get there. Um, you know, but yes, listen, it's obvious he's going to be world champion. It's obvious that if things keep going the way they're going, to me, it's obvious that Bron Breakker versus Jacob Fatu is an obvious WrestleMania main event, but we're not there yet for either one of them. We're just not, and to force it is it comes with there's more downside than there is upside, versus
So
letting the people you already have as your main eventers be your main eventers.
so then why did it work for Lesnar? Not the second time around after he came from the UFC, the first time where
The first, because Brock Lesnar was a phenom. That's the Brock Lesnar is a once in a lifetime, a once in a generation athlete. He was bigger than everybody, still bigger than everybody. He's faster than everybody, still pretty much faster than everybody. He had Paul Heyman. I'm like, bro, well, it was when Brock Lesnar showed up on TV for the first time. There were when he attacked the Hardys, he came in so fast, and the power bombs were so explosive that the reaction was not "who is that," it was "what the hell was that." So, and then you're kind of watching this, like Brock's presence is different than like Braun's. We see the future. Brock wasn't listen. Brock was inevitable. That's just what it was, and it was during a time of mega transition. All of your main eventers were essentially done. Triple H hurt. Undertaker hurt-ish, but on another show. Foley's gone. Austin's gone. Rock is gone. Guerrero and Malenko are not there. I'm not, sorry, but Guerrero and Benoit are not there yet. The your healthiest baby face is Hulk Hogan, and at that point in time, Hulk Hogan's in his late 40s, and already and so injured that he isn't as mobile as you would kind of want someone in their 40s to be, especially compared to the caliber of athlete that you have. And you've already put the belt on Kurt Angle a bunch of times, but so it's not going to give you the fresh infusion of energy and vitality that you need when you take a gamble. Brock was special. That's really what it comes down to. Just Brock is special.
All right, because you're describing Bron Breakker, but he is special. He is a guy who moves like Rey Mysterio. He is a guy that just
he's breaking through, but he hasn't broken. Like I said, it's going to be no different than if you listen. Some people will bake brownies, right, and they love the middle. They take them out of the oven early, and some people love them when it's still really gooey, right? It's a chocolatey, delicious mess. But at the end of the day, if the name of the game is I'm bringing these brownies to market and selling them to people and making the most amount of money out of it, you have to make sure that it's in the oven the appropriate amount of time to get the most value out of it. I know it's kind of a long and weird way to go about it, but I'm talking more. I'm not talking about the emotion part of it. I'm talking about the business part of it. Braun, he still has some major learning feats that he has to knock off of his checklist first before you do it. Brock was different because where Brock fell short, he was vastly superior to everybody else where he was short. So it evened itself out, and which is why when you put him when you put him with Heyman, Heyman's covering the shortfall if he can't talk. Heyman's weaving the story for you. Then you put him with Taker, and Taker knew how to make big men. He knew how to make big men. Then you put him with Big Show, and you kind of now Brock is not the biggest guy. Like you took this monster and you put him against a bigger monster. So there was a journey there. I would say the here's how I look at it. Breaker is more comparable to Goldberg than he is to Brock. Whereas we looked at Goldberg was just incredible to see the first time you saw him. He was just it was just awesome. Like you saw this guy, he was super intense. He had traps the size of a house. I think his traps were bigger than Sid's, and that was damn near impossible. He's super explosive, but he's super raw. As a fan, you can't really tell that much. You can't tell, but if you're someone who sees him, this guy's super raw. But that this guy is going to be the man. The Goldberg it would have been very easy for Bischoff to put the title on Goldberg 2.5 months in. But Bischoff very wisely waited. Well, Breaker, I'm not saying we're going to wait an entire year, but I'm saying 6 months makes a world of difference. If you do this right now, without the proper story tethers, you can only win the first time once. So they're going to have what's going to be an incredible moment not be nearly as special as it could be if they just pump the brakes and tell the story that needs to be told with character.
So here's the last, I guess, part of this. The risk is then what do you do with him going forward? Because he's feuded with Jey Uso, and that feels like you have to be careful with him. That's why I said put the belt on him. Don't have him lose to LA Knight or Jey Uso and draw a feud out, because he looks like he could go into both of these guys, murder them within 5 minutes, and then just carry them back like a sack of potatoes. Like he should He looks like if there was a fight between Punk and him in real life, he'll be arrested for war crimes. So how do you do this without like, okay, he just took out Seth Rollins, him and Bronson. He has beat up Roman Reigns at times. He has beat up, the War Raiders. He's beat up all these people. How do you not, because Triple H is very conservative, how do you push him but not let him just, stagnate because, well, he's now drawn into a feud with, the Usos or Pentagon Jr. or somebody because you're trying to keep him away from Punk and not just have him go for the title.
Listen, it's keep it simple. You got to go kiss method with it. What they're doing with him was working. You just need him. He's got to keep kicking people's asses. And listen, in the WWE, wins and losses don't matter unless they need the win or loss to matter. It's about what happens after the match, right? Like the everybody kind of forgets like Roman won the first match with Bronson, and they kicked the shit out of him. No one remembers that Roman. No one remembers that Roman won that match. Because at the end of it, Bronson and Braun were left standing. It's what happens after. LA Knight. If LA Knight beats Breakker for whatever reason, if Breakker, well, first of all, especially for heels, if you're a bad guy, you're going to lose. That is the sole purpose of your existence. Is you lose eventually. You have to lose. So Braun has to lose. He has to lose to the right person. Now, the way it works is he can lose on a Sunday night or a Saturday night, and he can come on a Monday and gaslight everybody. But yeah, that didn't mean shit. Nothing happened. And then as long as he busts someone's ass before those cameras go dark that same Monday, he is fine. He actually has more heat because he ignored the fact that he got humbled, and kept carrying on like it was business as usual. That's why I'm not really too concerned with, well, what do you do with him? Well, you do what you do with him. You let him kick people's asses. You give him a live mic and let him talk. There is no real urgency. He's not in a do or die situation. Again, it's the same thing with Bronson Reed. Bronson Reed has gotten some really big wins. He's got some really big wins, and he's a good promo. Together, they're pretty formidable. But there's the part of the story we're not talking about. You are growing two world title contenders. They're gonna have to collide at some point. Who goes in as the baby, who goes in as the heel, who walks away being the one who grabs the title. So that's why you taking your time to build the tension and give them the wins, or rather, I should say, give them the moments. It's not the wins and losses that matter; it's the moments. You got to give them the moments. You keep building these big oh shit moments. You give them wins where they really need it, and you keep building, and then the real story is what happens when it comes time for one of them to actually grab the ring. Then you worry about who they have to deal with after that, because that's where this story is really going. Tag teams exist for one of two reasons. It's either two, well, actually, really three. It's either two guys who are young, who have a lot of potential, and you don't know what to do with them, so you throw them together and say, "Hey, let's see what the hell happens." Your Rock and Roll Expresses, or it's an old guy on the way down and a kid on the way up, and the vet's got to teach him is teaching him the ropes to make sure that when this kid separates, that he's got to do what he's got to go do. But for 99.999% of tag teams, the end of the tag team, it's inevitable. I mean, someone's got to turn on someone. So they're designed to break up, and the breakup was always designed to elevate someone. So this team is going to have to break up at some point in time. They have one goal in mind. They're both major competitors, and even if the WWE has not made it a point to say it out loud yet, It's instinctively the viewer knows this. I guarantee you right now, if you go to some schoolyard, the there are 10 through 14, 15, 16 year olds having this discussion amongst their friends. Hey, what happens if they have to fight? Who's going to be the guy who wins? And that's why I'm like, all the other stuff, it doesn't really matter. You don't want to do it because there's a hell of a lot more story slash the more important story to tell before it becomes time to put a world title on one of these two.
Well, speaking of tag teams,
Yeah.
this is I worry about this, and I get it. They've been teasing it a bit. It's the Wyatt Six versus the MFTs. Let's
Yeah,
talk about the elephant in the room first.
sure.
Nikki Cross. I'm sorry, she needs to take a Samoan spike or a choke slam or a power bomb. I get it. Oh, we can't do it. It's violence at women. It's family. You can't have these MFTs, Solo Sokoa, the Gorillas of Destiny, Talatonga, and even
Yeah.
artist formerly known as Jeff Cobb, who are all big monsters. You can't have them back down from a 5'5", 130-pound woman. I get it. Is this the point where Triple H finally goes, okay, I'm going to break this rule. I'll deal. I'll be like with. I have enough, currency. I know I can't get canceled. The presence
Well,
friends with me. Just I'm gonna do it, and like Vince, I'll just say to the sponsors, screw you guys. It's a one-time deal. Deal with it.
listen, it's not like we haven't done things to women before. And there are some moves that are super effective, but not as offensive, right? Like you can give her the Samoan spike, and it can be ultra mega devastating. It's the Samoan spike has been built up over the last 15 years from the Umaga days to Solo, to Solo kind of reinventing it and making his own. If Solo hits Nikki with the spike, Nikki is destroyed. The MFTs are the biggest monsters out there, and the Wyatt Six are immediately mega uber baby faced because people are going to want to see them get revenge. The problem here is that when you are the Wyatt Six, as big as they are, there's too many dudes who are bigger than the MFTs, and they're not. You can't. You need an extra body to square up, and it can't be Nikki. It just can't be Nikki. The you know, it's they got to figure out, well, what do we do here? Are we going to let Uncle Howdy get involved, or are we gonna pull in a new member? Because you have to do something. You just have to. Or does Uncle Howdy become a problem for just Solo? And then one's still injured, right?
No,
and,
all
and
all of them are back. So you have 4+ Solo versus 4+ Nikki. So again, I
yeah,
get it.
so
Look, the the Wyatt Six have a special place because it was Bray Wyatt's child, love child idea. Passed away too soon. He was one of the few people you could say was beloved by everybody. Like nobody's had a bad thing to say about him. And WWE wants to do right by him, by Rotunda, Bo Rotunda, by the family, by all these guys who are close to them. But it's something they've painted themselves in the corner now. Now it's like, okay, well, it's not like when Ray Ripley was, getting the face of a baby face. Okay, baby face never hits a woman. We know that. These are heels. Heels aren't supposed to back down from them. They're not supposed to just take a step back or avoid the woman. They're the ones who are like,
well,
no, we're gonna.
that's the thing. Heels have to back down. Heels are the ones, but baby faces are the ones who never back down. Baby faces do not ever back down.
Not from a
The
woman. They should never back down, especially when they're the size of trucks. They should be the ones looking, going, yeah, I'm not gonna play by the rules. Flair did it back in the day. Randy Orton did it, and not even too long ago. I mean, that's what heels are. Heels. They're supposed to be bad guys. You boo them because they do bad things. If you have them
well,
back down from Nikki
dude,
Cross, you might as well just say, "Hey, take my nuts."
if, if, Nikki is by herself, you can't back down. But if Nikki is there and she's in your face and the other three are right there, then you tease it and you let them back down. But if Nikki's not going to get got, then what's the point? Right? She's at some point in time, Nikki's going to have to take damage because you keep throwing her at people, and eventually there has to be consequences for her getting involved. Now, if you're going to do that, this is the group to do it with. It's just a group to do it. Solo has established himself as a grade A MF, right? Like so, if you're not going to if you're not going to do it, if you're not going to have him be the guy to do it, then what is Nikki's purpose here? It should be the it should be it should be Uncle Howdy.
What will they do? Because that's the worry I have. It's they're teasing it to Survivor Series War Games. It should be a 4-on-4 War Games. You got, you know, the MFTs versus the Wyatt Six. In theory, this should be easy. I just worry that Triple H is going to do something goofy because of the sponsors, because of of no violence towards women, and Mickey Cross is going to take out a couple of the MFTs. And if that happens, just fire the MFTs. Just get rid of them. If you can't beat up Nikki Cross,
I don't think Nikki's beating anybody. I think Nikki will jump on someone's back. And again, Sherry did this, and no one bitched about it. Sherry and Medusa kicked the shit out of dudes all the time.
Yes, but they also got their comeuppance. They would get clotheslined.
Exactly though. I'm saying so. It's we're jumping down a path where we're not. They haven't done anything yet to have anybody kind of be worried about that yet. But if Nikki jumps on someone's back and you do one of these and she takes a nasty back bump, you got him.
Yeah, but that's just even then it's mild. It's like, as I said, I want to see if they are the MFTs, if they are these vicious heels. Because remember, Nikki and Sherry and Medusa did the baby faces. Baby faces can never be mean. Baby faces have to be. That's why they're baby faces. Heels. I mean, this is why people would. I'm not asking for ECW with power drive women, but just
not talking about that. So, but
like a Randy Orton, RKO on Beth Phoenix. That should be at least allowed on Nikki Cross. So a Samoan strike, you got to do. Otherwise,
I don't. But again, they haven't said that all that stuff is off the table. There hasn't been a reason to do it. And again that's the big difference here is I'll give Triple H credit. He doesn't do stuff just to do it. So that by the time it happens again, it's going to be a big deal. When someone finally puts hands on Nikki, it's going to be a big deal. It's going to be a big viral moment. It's going to be something everybody's talking about.
I hope you're right, but nobody put hands on AJ Lee, even though Seth Rollins teased it. Nobody ever put hands on Rhea Ripley, even though there were times where the whole freaking Judgment Day people could have. I just worry about this company.
But there was no. I'm saying there's no reason to put hands on Rhea, especially in that story. There was no reason for it.
When she's clotheslining Dominic and the rest of the Judgment Day. Yes, there is.
No, there isn't because the heater and the storyline is Liv. The Dominic was the impetus, but what does Dominic get out of hitting Rhea? Dominic is a chicken shit heel. Rhea is a freak of nature in terms of the fact that she's a woman who's so physical. She's China with talent and not that big Herman Munster head. So like if Dominic hits Rhea, Dominic destroys Rhea's character. It's over. Especially because it's not like it's Brock doing it. It's Dominic. So you can't just do things. This is the AEW problem. You can't just do things because someone might think it's cool. If you're going to do it, there needs to be a reason for it, and the reason also has to be tied directly to what are we getting out of it if we do it. That's what again. It's like, well, it's fine. What would have happened if Dawkins accidentally clotheslined Nikki? It just would have been another spot that no one would have been talking about 2 months later. This has potential to be a big deal / a big shot in the arm to getting people interested in the Wyatt Six as baby faces. So there's a fine line you have to walk. And yes, we are so past the ECW, pull the dress down and do the bare ass pile driver or smashing people with Kendo sticks and all that shit. That was a very uniquely '90s thing. That was a uniquely ECW thing. You know, the Dudleys putting the girls to the tables. That wasn't done just for the sake of doing it. It was done to drive just how evil, just how devious, just how destructive the Dudleys were. So that when the Dudleys turned around and did it to a guy, yeah, it could also justify that the guy was fucked up. The it was about making them as dangerous as they possibly could be. Whereas if this was AEW, yeah, Nikki would have got her face kicked in 400 fucking times, and no one would even care. No one would give a shit. That's what it's being patient, being patient and looking for the moment. Like put it on the whiteboard. Hey, someone's got to fuck up Nikki at some point in time. The it's something that it's something you got to do because she's getting involved, right? But it turns into who's the right person, when's the right time to do it, and how do we get our biggest bang for our buck when we decide to do it. So I think you're 100% correct in saying, yeah, at some point in time, Nikki needs to get lit up like a Christmas tree, but it's got to be the right one.
Speaking of a right time, we saw Cena versus AJ Styles at Crown Jewel. People loved it. And afterwards, AJ Styles said he's retiring after 2026. So we saw the John Cena retirement tour. Granted, AJ, it's not going to be what AJ has in mind, but how does WWE do AJ then? Because he's the greatest what if story.
Yep.
What if he came to WWE earlier? What if he, if he wasn't saddled with, Dean Ambrose and that whole goofy crap? What if, if he came around when, back in the early 2000s, and that's when we started seeing the explosion of Guerrero, Benoit, and people accepting, hey, you don't have to be 6'8", 300 pounds to be over. You can be that size. So what does WWE do with AJ Styles? Because he's unlike Cena, he wants to go out while he's on top and not be. Yeah. He can still go. He's even better, you can argue, than when he was doing this 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah. Well, listen, Cena's gone out on top. Cena's the biggest draw ever, biggest box office ever. He just is. Cena didn't leave because he got too old. Cena left because he wanted to go do other things and wanted to say goodbye. But AJ, I would say I think you're undervaluing AJ's impact. AJ Styles came in as the guy. AJ Styles was the dream opponent. AJ Styles was the big what if guy. But AJ Styles came in and within months was WWE champion and was the anchor of an entire brand. AJ Styles has been the quiet modern day Mr. WrestleMania. I think the only thing that sucks is that because the DX versus Brothers of Destruction match went so shitty, is that we never got AJ Styles versus Shawn Michaels, which is something we definitely should have gotten. The AJ Styles has, in a short amount of time, if you never looked at his TNA career, has what would be considered a Hall of Fame WWE career. The guy is in terms of when you look at a WWE product, the guy's a certified. He's a certified G. So you've got it's AJ's journey is different than Cena's. Again, Cena is very unique, and I think we can all agree that they didn't handle Cena's retirement tour as well as they could have anyway. But AJ is very unique in the sense that this was the outsider who showed that it could be done in the WWE. I would even point out that AJ is probably a big reason as to why Jon Moxley isn't there, because everybody kept screaming Moxley was the guy. AJ came in and and AJ walks into the dude's house, kicked his door off the hinges, and said, "Get out of my way," and showed everybody just how big a star AJ Styles actually is, not could be. Again, AJ was a guy who, was inevitable and has never really not been on top, even when they haven't had too much for him to do. The and I think if things had played out differently, AJ probably would have had another world title run. If it wasn't if they didn't have such a big amount of time with only one title, AJ would have gotten it. Actually, I'll be honest with you too. I think probably the best thing to do with this Rollins not having the title thing is to put that belt on AJ and build into his retirement. How long can AJ Styles run with this title, and give out a bunch of dream matches? Do Styles Punk, just punch down the list of all the major main eventers that are currently on there and guys who are on the come up, and have fun with it. And then AJ drops the title, and then you go into AJ's final batch of matches. The if it was up to me, but no, dude, AJ Styles' WWE career is fantastic.
I'm not saying it's
And
not fantastic. I'm just saying it could have been bigger. Like if he had, because we think he missed out a lot on the prime Daniel Bryan,
yeah,
CM Punk years. Like he was
yeah.
still in TNA. So man, that's my argument. Is like
I
he
think
could have been bigger. He could have had been like as big as Rollins is now because he was Seth Rollins before Seth Rollins became what he was.
I think to AJ's credit, though, I think AJ read the tea leaves properly, right? Because everybody forgets AJ was on the touring show. He was on Velocity. He was on the other show, Jacked and Metal, and he had been there for a while. It was him, Joe, and a couple other guys. And he was like, they're not going to give me what I'm looking for. And at the time, he probably was not going to be used properly, right? Like the AJ needed to go someplace where he could show off, and then AJ needed Kurt Angle and Samoa Joe to show you what he could do, so that when he came over to WWE, you would be hard pressed to not do the right thing by him. I do think that if AJ had come in sooner, he may have accidentally been lost in the shuffle. Would you have probably potentially gotten some banger matches with Guerrero, with Benoit, with Kurt Angle? It would have been a different situation for Kurt Angle. Would they have possibly anchored ECW around him? Maybe, but they also run into the danger of AJ Styles is fucking jobbing out to Jack Swagger. I think you don't get this AJ Styles without making AJ Styles the life and soul of TNA.
Does he wrestle one more time in TNA? Because
I
there has
think
to
they'll
be
let
like a
it
full
happen.
circle. But a company that he made is now on the up and up. They're finally just like I'm not asking like a big run, but like Bound for Glory next year. Him versus Frankie Kazarian. You end the story. Two guys who started in TNA, built TNA. They end within TNA.
Yeah, I think so. I think you'd be crazy not to do it, especially too. He had that homage to his TNA gear. He came out. He came out. I think you do it because one, Triple H is very in tune with what fans like to see. So I think there'd be to have AJ go back and give you one last TNA match. One, it does put a stamp of super legitimacy on this iteration of TNA. It is a thank you to all those fans who hung in there. It would be akin to like if the NWA was worth shit, and you had Ric Flair, you had Ric Flair on his retirement tour go back to wrestle one more match in the NWA. This is something that's really big. It's huge, and I would find it hard to believe that given the nature of the partnerships and Triple H's willingness to play nice with other companies, that you don't do it because it is a wasted opportunity.
Well, wasted opportunity. This is what we're talking about. TNA for Bound for Glory. Yeah, it was a great event. They did fantastic numbers. We're going to talk about Dudley's Team 3D versus Hardys later on. There were three things that pissed people off on this. One we'll get to in a second, which was the call your shot gauntlet, how that ended. There was, of course,
it was a unique finish, but
there was, of course, also the Tessa Blanchard having to cheat, which we'll get into also in a second. This really pissed people off, and
you saw my response on Twitter. People,
I get it. Look, you got a banger of a match. It was Javon Evans versus Leon Slater. They brought the house down. They were doing everything, and after 25 minutes, no. Well, it's the kind of time I'm gonna draw, and of course, Santino Marella comes out. We're getting overtime, 5 more minutes. And then the crowd's, happy, and Leon's happy, and Javon's happy. What happens in 2 minutes? Dark Slade comes out and ruins the whole thing. Or as
that's the fucking point. That's the fucking point.
I understand that, Kevin. It's just like this is a beautiful match, and why couldn't one of these guys win? Instead, we get a turd sandwich, which is Shield 2.1.
This is the Meltzerification of fandom. People don't understand. Like, there's an ebb and flow to the storytelling. They've already had a couple of banger matches. This was supposed to be the great big. This was the redemption match. This is the solidify my legacy match. You have two young guys who, as the kids say, are on the come up. They're giving you awesome banger matches. They're getting over. They're breaking through. They have not broken through. In order for a babyface to break through, you need sympathy. Sympathy is the key to a babyface ascending to the next level. So you're giving the people what they want. You're teasing, you're building this massive crescendo. At the end of the day, we know we have to do this again with these guys, but you got to get mileage, because you're not going to get anything if you just turn around and do this at the next NXT pay-per-view or at the next TNA pay-per-view. Then now it's not nearly as special as it can be. You want it to wait. I could be real picky and do how your average older wrestler would describe it. But I don't like to do that. It's about the build up. It's about the build up and the anticipation factor. Also, too, you want people mad, right? These guys, you got to get heat on these guys. What's a good way to get these guys nuclear heat? Have them fuck everybody out and finish they really want. How do you have people want? How do you get people more excited about the follow-up match? Do something where now, because we love them both and we want to see them wrestle. But what are people going to want to? What are people going to love to see too? They're going to love to see them together. So now you create an opportunity where you see them together. You create an opportunity for them to go get redemption for getting their asses kicked, and to get revenge and give the fans that feel-good moment. And once they get the feel-good moment, and they finally overcome, they finally overcome the bad guys. Now we do it one last time, and now it fucking means something, because now you have a whole bunch of giant fucking history that you can pull from, up to and including. Not only do they know each other so well, they partnered together. They rode together. They trained together. So now who's going to come out on top? You can't just jump straight to the. I'll say.
Well, in fairness,
you can't just jump straight to sticking it in. It is how this works at the end of the day.
My take is a little more different. I mean, look, this is unfortunately what happens when you are partnering with another company. They have their own say. They're going to look out for Javon Evans. They don't want Javon Evans to lose 2 straight times to Leon Slater. And I don't think TNA was ever going to let their X Division champion lose his first big title defense on a major pay-per-view. So we get this. Is it great? No, and I understand, folks, but sometimes...
Hold on, Chris, that all plays into it, though. That all plays into it. First of all, again, WWE doesn't give shits. I actually tell you, you get more you get more storyline out of him losing 3 times in a row than you get out of him winning. But all that factors into it. That's what I'm saying. Like, guys, this is all part of the process. Everybody's sitting around bitching and moaning, playing armchair booker, but they don't understand how to book and why things happen the way they happen. Right, because you have to make sure people look strong. You have to make sure everybody comes out of this happy at the end of it. And you have to create a situation where, which again, something that WWE excels at, is the moment is more important than the victory. So you created a moment where if he does lose a third time, it's not going to kill him. Or he wins. And then down the line, we come back and we do it a fifth time. Not right away, but later, right? Like you create that what's the best way to describe it? You create that anticipation of anytime and every time RVD and Jerry Lynn were in a ring together. Jerry Lynn lost what? 99 of those fucking 110 matches. But all these years later, if Jerry Lynn was still an active wrestler, if RVD and Jerry Lynn wound up in the ring together 20 something years later, the fans who know would be on their feet, hoping to see a little bit of magic. The moments are always more important than the actual outcome of the match. The finish. That's why the finish is the most important. No one gives two shits if the match sucked. Did the finish suck? No one cares if XYZ won or lost. It was, well, what was the end result? If the person who was supposed to win won, okay, well, did they at least give someone the ability to get over at the end? Because getting over is always more important than going over. That's why I find this so annoying. Okay, fine. So let's say we get it, we get a nice finish. Then what? Now no one's talking about this match 2 weeks after it happens. But what happened? Now we've got another 2 months worth of story, potentially 3 months worth of storyline, and you still have the ability to get another match. And depending on how they do it, because depending on how they go about the match, you now have you build anticipation for another match down the line. So you've got to build a foundation first. People need to relax a little bit and sometimes just go for the fucking ride. Because yes, you don't know what you're bitching about. You think you know, but you don't know, because the asshole who told you that he knows doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. He's just ripping you off every month.
So let's talk about the one finish I think you and I can both agree on was sort of an interesting choice. Call your shot gauntlet. We had men, we had women, we even had sort of
which I think is stupid, by the way. I think so fucking stupid.
But I agree with that, but we'll get into that part. And then we had the finish, which was the last two people in there, at the whoever gets the pinfall of the final two survivors gets the cup and basically the call your shot, which is AKA, Money in the Bank. Mm-hmm. We got a tie. Both Frankie Kazarian and Nick Nemeth got it, and they pinned each other at the same time. Santino comes out and goes, well, for the first time ever, they're both going to share the cup. And, of course, people like you were chanting, bullshit.
No, I was like, oh, okay, that's unique. I get it. I was like, oh, cool, someone finally fucking did it, huh? I understand why no one's done it, but it's like, well, yeah, it's, should always. TNA had the balls to do something different with a finish that you see often, but it's always used to give you something else, right? Like, yes, you have two refs. Two refs are going to make a call. At some point in time, it was going to. I thought the way they handled the pinning was perfect. That's a testament to Nemeth and Kazarian being able to kind of chew on something and really learn how to, or rather, chew on it and maximize in getting the most amount of mileage out of something. I mean, if you were going to do this kind of finish, The way they got to it was perfect. The only thing that is to sit down and talk about is that the finish is unique and no one's ever done it before because it's very risky to do. It does leave you feeling a little unsatisfied, but also at the same time, you're not knowing how to deal with it because it's never been done before. And how many times can you get to say that? I also think, listen, with where they are with the heavyweight title and Santana being the baby face, the chase is always more fun, always more beneficial to the baby. But now you've created a storyline situation where you can be the champion and also still be the underdog. So because you have essentially you've got two former champions, both at the top of their game, both highly capable. Um, so it creates a fun dynamic. And now Santana is in danger because now you can do whatever other storyline you want with Santana, and now you have to worry about, well, when's Kazarian going to cash in? When's Nemeth going to cash in? What happens if they want to cash in at the same time? What happens if they decide? What happens if they decide to collude? TNA took a unorthodox gamble, and the I think if they do it right in 4 months from now, no one's going to even remember that this happened, other than to be like, yeah, they went with this weird finish, but this was the payoff of it. It's fucking weird. I can't downplay it, but I'll give them props for being unique.
So here's I'll quickly run over the entire 20 members of the Call Your Shot Gauntlet. It was Layling Lee, Mara Sade, Ryan and Nick Nemeth, Cedric Alexander, Rich Swann, AJ Francis, Travis Williams, all three Rascals, Danny Luna, Eric Young, Jake Something, Rosemary, the Hometown Man, which is otherwise known as Cody Deaner, Zach Clayton, who is part of the FBI, Frankie Kazarian, Santino Marella, Matt Cardona, and Mance Warner. I get it. TNA is a small roster, and I get it. They're trying to get as many people on the roster as they can because it's all pay per view appearances. In the past, it's worked when you have.
Maybe pay per view. I get it.
They need talent, Kevin, and I feel bad because I get it. Look, not everybody can look like Drew McIntyre, Matt Cardona, but what do they do? I mean, because this is. And I get it, you don't want women in there, but this is all when you have a paid per appearance, and they already had a 4-hour card. They didn't want to go AEW, length where it's like 5 hours long. Let's do it. Like, no, they're not doing that. But how badly do they need this TV deal so they can actually pay people to just wrestle, show up every time?
They need, it's time. Listen, they're ready. Yeah, they're ready. It's time for some of the let them take the training wheels off and show people what they can do. Their roster doesn't have a look problem. Their roster has a character problem because there are a lot of people there who have the TV deal will help them be in a position to better develop and explain who these people are because it's a different energy, it's a different intensity when you're cranking out something brand new every week versus taping for 4 weeks, right? It's just there's a different kind of urgency, it's a different kind of energy. DNA is at a point where it needs to be put in a position where they sink or swim, so that you can see the creative and you can see the wrestlers kind of come together and ratchet up where their characters are. But also too, yes, they do need a few more people to add a little more depth to the roster. So that you can start seeing new match combinations. They're in a weird spot. Not a bad spot, just a weird spot where they are in fact limited by a lack of resources. But to their credit, they maximize their resources infinitely better than AEW does.
Speaking of maximizing resources, I will give this match credit. You have the Hardys and you have Team 3D who let's face it, they are not in the prime of their career. The Team 3D is basically being held, and I say this with love to Devon and Bully Ray. They're held up with spit, duct tape, and a lot of Jack Daniels. In Devon's case, probably less Jack Daniels and more orange juice and Advil, but different story, different day. You saw the full match. You saw the whole buildup or lack of. You've heard criticisms. Was this the best they could do, considering that Devon hadn't wrestled in over 2 years, that Bully Ray is not the guy that he used to be, that the Hardys are up there in age, and that this is a nostalgia match. Nobody wanted to boo anybody. This was, you couldn't do a heel turn. You couldn't turn one team vicious. Like, this was a celebration of basically our childhood that's going to end, and we start realizing that.
If you're bitching about this match, then you need to take a look in the mirror and go, bro, this is about sometimes about having fun. No one gives a shit about star ratings. This was about having fun. These were two legendary teams, two of the best to ever do it. Right? And the if the Hardy Boys didn't exist, or I should say the Hardys, if the Hardys didn't exist, then the Dudleys would be the greatest tag team. So but the Hardys exist. So it is what it is. It's so you're talking about 1A versus 1B. Devon had a stroke. Devon could never be cleared by the WWE at the end of this. Why this match happened in TNA. Bubba is they're older. Bubba and Devon are what probably almost 10 years older than the Hardys. Give or take, but maybe I was anywhere from 6 to 8 years older than the Hardys. So Father Time's the only one who's undefeated, but the match is what it was. It was a Hardys versus Dudley's fucking spot fest match. It was a one more time. Sometimes, well, I like it like this. Do you go to a Kiss concert for new songs, or do you go to a Kiss concert for the greatest hits? This was a greatest hits match. Yes, you're fine. I ran out to go see Motley Crue, and Bret Michaels don't look the way he did, like he used to in the 80s, early 90s, right? But you goddamn right, I was there for girls, girls, girls. I was there for Kickstart My Heart. We got what we needed to get, and they went home, and the Dudleys handed off their boots, and topped off the match with a major moment. And now when the Hardys inevitably come back to the WWE and inevitably get at least one more title run and inevitably go into the Hall of Fame, the Hardys get to retire as the greatest team of all time.
Take me to the ending, because people were confused about it. And look, I get it. They're trying to recreate Flair and Michaels, where Flair is beaten down, he's bloodied, and he's looking at Shawn like, you got to put me down, but I can't do it myself. And Shawn goes, I love you, hits the super kick, that's it. Mm-hmm. Here it was, they're trying to put him through a table, and the match went 15 minutes, and all of a sudden, near the 15 minutes, 45 seconds, but near that 14-15 mark, Bubba gets up, the table's in front of him. He turns around slowly. He sort of looks like a dog that just realized, nope, there is no bone. The Hardys have the chairs, and they're hesitating, and then they just double urinage through the table. Did it hit? Because some people didn't think it hit. I get it. They did. I don't think they wanted to bust up the Dudleys. I think with just health issues and everything, and you're like, okay, well, how far can we push these guys before one goes heart attack?
Why is it you can't push Devon that hard? The fact that Devon got himself in shape and did this match after everything he's been through is freaking incredible. I think people have not given that the amount of attention that should have been given. Devon battled back hard and got himself in ring shape to do this with the issues with his hips, his back, his neck. it is incredible what we saw him do. And I don't think it's gotten its proper due. In terms of the finish, listen, at the end of the day, if you don't get it, you don't get it. But I think more people understood what was trying to be done, and it landed the way it landed. And sometimes it's a grand slam, and sometimes it's a double. I think I think they hit a triple. I think they got a triple out of this one, but they didn't get the home run. But at the end of the day, you still got a triple.
Was it possible to get a home run? I mean, did we have too high expectations? And I get it. Like Negative BQ does a great job for his show. As he said, I'm not a fan, but hey, I understood what it was. For those who complain, oh, wasn't it was just it was a garbage fest, blah blah blah, it's this and that. How much of that is just look, we got to be realistic. These are two, four men who are pushing past 48, 47 years old. Two of them probably around 55. One of them is coming back from a stroke. They are no longer the spring chickens that they were.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta make chicken, as I say, you gotta make chicken salad out of chicken crap. So
Yep.
how much should we just look and go, this is the best we were gonna get considering, and just be happy with it?
Yeah, but that's it though. Just fucking be happy. We got it. We got it, and it didn't suck. Well, it wasn't great, but it didn't suck. So be happy. Like if you were walking in here expecting fucking TLC one, then you are on some very powerful narcotics. Because we're talking, you know, four performers who, the Dudleys years before they got to the WWE, already had a bunch of mileage on their bodies. So now we're talking what 24, 6 years after these major car crash matches that changed wrestling forever. Just sometimes just be happy. Just be sometimes listen, at the end of the day, right out here, here's the best way to go about it. Um, I love Beverly Hills Cop. I love Hills Cop 2, Beverly Hills Cop 3, and whatever. Axel Foley was pretty fucking good. So I can go back and watch Axel Foley and be happy with it. It wasn't Beverly Hills Cop 1, it wasn't Beverly Hills Cop 2, but Axel Foley was pretty damn good. This wasn't TLC 1, this wasn't TLC 2. This wasn't the Terry Invitational, but it was still pretty damn decent. And he gave you a special moment at the end. So sometimes just learn how to be happy and stop worrying about your fucking cage match ratings like a fucking dweeb.
Last question we end the show. How much look in retrospect? How much did it hurt that it followed Cena versus AJ Styles? So you had that nostalgia match, and yet they were both still semi in their prime. I think AJ is still in his prime, so they looked amazing. They're pulling off all these incredible moves. They're doing everything that with tribute moves, and then we get this, and it just feels like okay. If AJ and Cena had never happened, do you think this would have gotten a lot more love from people because we wouldn't have had like, oh, we saw this, so now we get this.
Well, so honestly, I'll be honest. This is what I think is happening. Right. This is what I think is happening. I think the negativity towards TNA is artificial. I think it's artificial. I think it's AEW fans realizing that their brand is in the apathy state where no one gives two shits about it, and they couldn't. They can't draw anything that vaguely resembles interest on the product. So what do they have left? We're going to make a lot of noise and poo-poo everybody else's good time. This match, was always going to be what it was going to be, right? Listen, at the end, even when they were doing this in TNA 12 years ago, it still wasn't as good as it was, in the early 2000s. But it's just two legendary teams going at it one more time, right? Fat Brett Michaels is still more entertaining than 90% of the people out here performing today, right? But he is a shell of himself. You paid to see the greatest hits one more time. You got it. If you are mad that the greatest hits don't sound as good as they used to, well, then how about you go find a pair of jeans from when you were in high school and you try sliding them on and you tell me how you look and feel in them. Sometimes you just got to enjoy something and let it be what it's going to be. But in terms of the online discourse, I think that there's more than enough room for everybody to eat. And again, this is I laugh. It's like I was just talking to my buddy about this yesterday actually, because we were talking about Bob Backlund versus when Bob Backlund came back and turned on Brett. And then we had watched a couple really old Bob Backlund matches. I don't remember who he lost to, but he loses the heel powders, and then Backlund throws a tantrum in the ring. And we're like, oh wow, he was doing this back then. So we are at a spot in our wrestling enjoying lives where the people who were old enough to watch Backlund when he was, when they were kids, and they were adults watching him attack Brett, right? It's you are watching a part of your past come back for one last glory run, and it's cool. And you know that they're not as big as they used to be, not as strong as they used to be, not as fast as they used to be, but they're still pretty damn charismatic. They still knew how to perform, and it was still pretty effing cool. Drop the 10 culture bullshit. Not everything is the 10. Not everything can be a 10. 10s should be really extremely hard to come by. But 7 is still pretty damn good, and 8 is really damn good. So sometimes something's got to be a 7, something's got to be an 8. Not everything can be a 10, and even a 9 should be really goddamn hard to come by. So if that's something that you can't understand, I am sorry that you are such a miserable effing person. But learn how to find a little bit of joy and enjoy things, man. And I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the people who are online bitching and moaning about everything. Like just rediscover what it is to actually be a fan and accept something for what it is. Everything changes. People age. It's again, time is the only thing that's truly undefeated. And would you be? Would you rather get a chance to say goodbye and have them do something halfway decent, or not have had it at all? I'd rather see these guys come back, give it their all one last time, deliver, deliver, again, give you a very solid. I gave this match a 7.5. The deliver a very solid result, and close out with a really special moment versus not have done it at all. And especially too, this match was never going to hit the same because it wasn't happening in a WWE ring. That's the other thing that people are forgetting too is this didn't happen in the WWE where it needed to happen, but it didn't happen in the WWE because it can't happen in the WWE because Demon would never be cleared. So just be happy with what you got, man. Be happy with what you got. TNA gave everybody something really special.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, he pulls no punches, he takes no dives, and if you don't like it, we'll stop being, in his words, a negative a-hole. I give you once again, it is Kevin Apollo from the Kevin Apollo Show Network. Where can fans check you out? You have all these platforms, these shows. You're on Toontown Wrestling. You have ACW Wrestling, which I know you're like, we have a big thing planned. I can't tell you yet. I have a big thing planned. So where can fans check you out at?
So you go to my YouTube channel, The House of Apollo. I put up a teaser video with the show spectacular theme song written by the one and only the Cheap Wrestler Matt Rivera. It was a fantastic song. So I put up a little channel teaser with a nice chunk of the song in it. Other than that, check me out Tuesdays and Friday evenings on the WWE Pro Network. Where we're doing late nights with Lauren and Apollo. And other than that, I'll pop in and out on Marv's channels on Toonie Talk Wrestling and Toonie Talk TV on a Tuesday and Thursday respectively. And then, of course, whenever I'm blessed to be able to come hang out with you, man. Like I said, you do phenomenal work. You do phenomenal work, dude. So it's always a privilege to be able to sit down and hang out with me for a little bit.
You're too kind, good sir. Kevin Apollo, ladies and gentlemen, once again, always on a pleasure having on the show. Once again, it's the House of Apollo with Lauren. You can check it out once again on Tuesday nights and also on Friday nights. We come back with a lot more going on only on it's Last Call. Last Call the Alcohol, only on the Last Call YouTube channel.